Today, we're digging into the absolute teaching genius of Confucius. But here's the thing, we're not just going to talk about what he said. We're going to look at the incredible, and honestly, kind of surprising way he said it. And it's a method that might just change the way you think about communication.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. If two totally different people, like your super cautious friend and your super impulsive one, ask you the exact same question, should you give them the exact same answer? It's a really tough question, right? Well, it's something a master teacher was wrestling with thousands of years ago.
Because way back, 2,500 years ago, Confucius wasn't just some old sage writing down stuffy rules. No, he was a hands-on teacher, a mentor, and honestly, a master communicator. He figured out something huge. The person asking the question is just as important as the question itself. And his approach? It was a total game changer. Okay, to really see this in action, let's dive into our first case study. And the topic is a big one. How do you govern a state? I mean, this is the kind of question all his ambitious students were dying to get an answer to. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. 3 of his best students, Zilu, Zhonggong, and Zixia, all came to him and asked that same question, and Confucius gave them 3 completely different answers. And I don't mean slightly different, I mean fundamentally different advice. So why on earth would he do that? Let's break it down. First up, we've got Zilu. Now, Zilu was the man of action. He was brave, full of energy, maybe a little reckless. So when he asks about governing, Confucius's advice is super direct, super personal. He tells him, you get out there and lead from the front. You work hard, and you never, ever let them see you get tired. He's basically telling Zilu to take all that fiery energy and channel it into his work. Okay, next is Zhonggong. He was the total opposite, a calm, capable manager, a natural administrator. Confucius doesn't tell him to work himself to the bone. Instead, his advice is all about management. He says, trust your team, empower your officials, forgive the small stuff to keep morale up, and most importantly, find talented people and promote them. This is advice for a CEO, not for a guy on the front lines.
And then you have Zixia. Zixia was a smart, dedicated scholar, but he was also ambitious, maybe a little too eager for a quick win. So for him, Confucius's advice is more like a warning. He says, whoa, slow down, don't get distracted by small victories. If you rush, you'll mess up the important stuff. He's teaching Zixia to play the long game.
So you see what's happening here? It's brilliant. He's not giving out generic advice from a textbook. For Zilu, the impulsive warrior, the lesson is hard work. For Zhonggong, the skilled manager, it's about building a great team. And for Zixia, the ambitious one, it's a lesson in patience. The same exact question gets 3 totally custom-built answers. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. Confucius used this tailored approach for the deep philosophical questions, too. Let's jump to our next example, which is all about what it means to be a true gentleman. This one really shows off his method. So, the sophisticated, well-spoken diplomat, Zigeng, asks the question. What does he get? A complex, multi-level framework for self-improvement. It's like a philosophical ladder to climb. But then, who comes along asking the very same question? Our old friend Zilu, the straight shooter. And his answer? Totally different. It's simple, it's practical, it's all about how you treat people. Be a good friend, be a good brother. One guy gets a PhD syllabus, the other gets daily actionable advice.
But sometimes the best lesson comes when you don't answer the question you were asked. At all. And this last example is maybe the most surprising one yet.
A student named Fan Chi comes up to him with a super practical question. Hey, how do I learn to farm? And Confucius' reply seems kind of rude, honestly. He just says, for that, you're better off asking an old farmer. It really sounds like he's just blowing him off.
But of course, you know by now, with Confucius, there's always something else going on beneath the surface. He wasn't dodging the question, he was using it as a launch pad to teach Fan Chi something way more important than growing crops. He was trying to elevate his thinking.
So what was the real lesson? After Fan Chi walks away, Confucius explains. He says a leader's job isn't to know how to do everything, like farming. A leader's job is to cultivate virtue in themselves. The idea is, if you as a ruler are a good, righteous, and trustworthy person, then all the experts, all the best farmers and artisans, they'll naturally want to come and work for you. He taught Fan Chi to focus on being the kind of leader that attracts talent, instead of trying to be a jack of all trades. So what do all of these stories really tell us? Well, they all point to this single powerful idea at the very heart of how Confucius thought about teaching and communicating. And that whole idea is wrapped up perfectly in this 4-character phrase, yin gai shi jiao. It basically means to teach according to the student's unique qualities. It's this core belief that real teaching isn't about just blasting out the same information to everyone. Nope. It's about knowing your audience inside and out and giving them the exact piece of wisdom they need right when they need it.
So what can we actually take away from all this? I think it boils down to 3 big lessons. First, really pay attention to your audience. Understand who you're talking to. Second, answer the person, not just the question. Tailor what you're saying to them. And third, always be looking for that chance to guide the conversation to a bigger, more important idea. Turn a simple question into a real learning moment.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. If Confucius were here today, and you could ask him for advice about your life, your job, anything, he wouldn't just give you a generic cookie-cutter answer. He'd look at you, your personality, your struggles, your strengths. So the real question is, what do you think he would tell you?